Hello all and welcome to my humble little corner of internet real estate. I'm the Sumerian. Today we're going to nerd out to a game called Sprocket Tank Design. Sprocket Tank Design has been in development for 15 months as of August 26, 2021 at the time of its early access release date. It's developed and published by Hanish Dunn and it's their first project. Sprocket Tank Design allows you to design tanks featuring realistic armor mechanics, and it highlights the design features of tanks throughout World War I and late-stage World War II tank concepts. You do this all through an intuitive designer mode that allows you to tweak and adjust nearly every aspect of your tank's design to achieve the overall desired effect. Do you want a fast, mobile tank capable of outflanking your enemies? Or do you want a behemoth with a big-ass gun that weighs over 70 tons and is capable of going toe-to-toe with the almighty King Tiger tank itself? As of right now, there are 4 game modes to choose from. Scenario, which consists of 8 different battles requiring you to employ different strategy modes to crush your enemies. Sandbox mode with an obstacle course, which basically allows you to field test each of your designs without getting your ass kicked during the process. Sandbox flat with no obstacle course is essentially a flat track, and you have showroom mode to show off your tank's design for screenshots, I guess. I don't know what the hell else it's good for. You also have faction mode, which allows the trading of your favorite blueprints to your friends and other faction members. Being brand new to early access, it's pretty bare bones right now. There aren't many graphical options, and there aren't many options in general to choose from. You can, however, rebind your keys, and you can also change your FOV for design mode and also for your battle modes. I would recommend that you change your FOV for design mode so that way you can get a nice big 360 of your tank's design. It makes it easier to add components or subtract components. In 20 hours of play, I ran into very few, if any, bugs. It rarely dropped below 60 FPS for me, and it ran really smooth throughout the entire experience. The first mode is Scenario mode, which is pretty straightforward. Design and build a tank and field test it against certain enemies in specific conditions, each one providing a unique obstacle that will ultimately influence your design choices. Will you need a fast mobile tank to outmaneuver your enemies that's capable of reaching speeds to hop trenches? Or do you need a big ass behemoth that lulls every time your enemy's puny shells bounce off of its 500mm thick front slanted armor? That's currently the meta, by the way. Slant the hell out of your armor and make it thick in front. Each scenario is unique and provides a unique set of challenges and also offers different terrain challenges as well. There is a trench warfare scenario simulating a World War I scenario that requires a faster tank capable of hopping over trenches. And there's also a mid-war World War II simulation that pits you against a King Tiger tank that allows you to create a sadistic monstrosity of steel death to go toe-to-toe with the king. It took me about 8 hours to get through all the scenarios, but that was mostly because I had absolutely no idea what the hell I was doing. The game as it stands right now is pretty bare bones. There's no tutorial, and if there ever was a game that needed a tutorial, this is it. While the design aspect is simple in nature, the effects of what you're doing aren't clear. It would be nice if there was a hover over for each component to give you an idea of what you're doing and what its effects are. A short tutorial, something, anything. It took me an hour just to get a tank to move forward up a hill that was legit no greater than a 5-degree incline. You can nerd the hell out over sprocket size, gear ratios, engine specs, and more. You can customize virtually everything to your heart's content, but there's nothing at all to guide you through the process. As such, it can be frustrating for a person just getting started and might even deter some altogether. And that's unfortunate, because when you do get a design working, it's hugely rewarding, and some might pass this game up. If you're unfamiliar with such things, it's hard to connect the dots with what you're doing and the tangible effect it will have on your tank's performance in the field. For this, I highly recommend checking out the Steam community page and look up Admiral Obvious's guide. It's a great little guide that will definitely get you started in the right direction. I spent the first hour or so just trying to get a tank that would drive in a straight line, let alone go over a hill. But that's where the amazing potential for this game lies, in the details. It's incredibly satisfying to design and field test a tank that performs exactly how you want it to, and the joy of improving on that design and making a little tweak here and there to improve it even further. Increase the diameter of the sprocket, reduce the caliber of your ammunition while increasing the length to provide better penetration. All of these things have a massive effect on your strategy and what you're trying to achieve. As of right now, your design options include 5 categories: base, mobility, firepower, crew, and livery. Making changes to the base shape of the hull and the turret. These design decisions allow you to alter the turret's traversing rate and increase or decrease its armor in millimeters. You can do the same thing with the hull and increase or decrease it as you see fit. Increase it in the front and sides and leave a weak spot in the back to save mass. All things need to be considered. You also have extensive mobility design options. You can change everything from the powertrain, the tracks, engine, transmission, fuel, and fenders. You can adjust gear ratios to keep your RPMs optimal and to prevent your tank from redlining and blowing up and killing up your crew. This happened to me a few times. You have engine options of basic or advanced. Basic provides 3 options that include heavy, medium, or light engines respectively. Or you can go into the advanced options and adjust how many cylinders it has, its target min and max RPM, its power output, and idle settings and fuel usage. I love the realism here, and I spent hours tweaking my gear ratios to maximize RPMs for my engine. In your transmission settings, you can have a simple 4 gearbox setup or a complex gearbox monstrosity with 24 gears. In fuel options, you can choose to have external fuel tanks or internal. Internal uses more space and less space for ammo storage, etc., so keep that in mind. As of right now, fenders are purely aesthetic as far as I know. In the firepower sections, you can adjust the gun mount, cannon itself, and ammo storage amount. I never ran out of ammo or even came close during any of my scenarios. Typically, a long, decent caliber projectile shot at a tank's side will destroy it. The manlet is what your cannon attaches to, and the options are light, medium, and heavy, each providing 3 different designs. Light, medium, or heavy will dictate whether or not your cannon has an azimuth rate or simply an elevation rate. A heavy manlet, for example, typically only allows for y-axis movement or up and down movement and is dictated in degrees of elevation. A light manlet will have x and y movement denoted in degrees of azimuth. Higher torque in the motors of these respective manlets will affect how quickly your cannon can move up and down, left or right, and fire on a target. The cannon itself is pretty straightforward. Bigger, longer barrel equals more devastating and accurate power. Longer barrels equal less dispersion equal more pinpoint accuracy. Obviously, the longer your barrel is and the thicker the diameter of the shell is going to make it more massive and thus limit your tank in other areas such as mobility and internal space, etc. In the crew options, you can have a commander, radio man, driver, gunner, and loader, and they all do exactly what you would expect. As of right now, I don't think the radio man has any effect other than allowing your allies on the battlefield greater control range. Hopefully this has a more pronounced effect in the future. If you guys know anything more about this, please say so in the comments below. You can adjust your crew size as you see fit, and this will affect load times and efficiency. I think eventually there will be commander buffs that will have an overall effect on your tank's performance. As of right now, I never saw it increase past 0% impact. It'd be nice to see what they do with this in the future. Finally, you have livery options which allow different camo designs, paint jobs, and decals. How much of an effect these have in battle is unknown to me right now. As far as I know, it's merely aesthetic, but again, if you guys know anything about this, please let me know. Overall, the combat is engaging and it can be really challenging at times. The AI does seem to just charge at you most of the time, but sometimes on occasion I have noticed them trying to flank me. In the snow level on the last scenario, I did notice that the enemies to my left and right were trying to encircle me. I also noticed that when I made a monstrosity of a tank that couldn't move but had a huge ass gun, after they suffered 2 losses, they simply stopped attacking. And I couldn't chase them because my tank was a piece of shit and it couldn't move any further. But it did have a kick-ass gun. They were smart enough to know to stop sending tanks after me. I like to think that's because the AI learned its lesson and the smaller tanks couldn't do shit against my monstrous immobile battleship gun. But who knows? There were a few occasions where I defeated all the tanks on the map and I was just driving around, got bored, and reset. I'm not sure if this is a bug or if I just had a lazy ass tank refusing to go after me that I couldn't find. The potential in this game for multiplayer and even more involved scenarios is huge. I can see this being a great success despite it being in a rather niche group of games. There is talk in the developer notes of Jeeps and other vehicles being added. Hopefully we will have an all-out war zone of custom tanks rolling around in epic battles. How kick-ass would that be to have a battle royale with your own customized tanks on your own faction? The music is relaxing and engaging when it needs to be, but I would have preferred more tracks. Granted, it is in early access, so that's to be expected. But the tracks that are featured are perfect for the occasions. It's nice they went with a more relaxing music in the design mode and a more intense battle music during the scenarios, as opposed to some annoying music that tortures you while you're trying to crunch your gear ratio numbers. The graphics are pleasing and at times it looks beautiful. It's gorgeous as you're traversing the snowy banks of Europe or the desert in Africa. It's very pleasing visually and it can be quite immersive at times, hearing nothing but the sound of your tank and seeing it roll through the hills or across the snowbanks in great detail. Overall, I had a great time with this game, and if you're into the very minute details of battle design and can get lost in details, then I'd say it's worth a look. It's currently $19.99 on Steam, and I would have to say that if you're into this type of niche and don't mind spending the money, I would say it's definitely worth it, as you can nerd out for hours designing your suspension system alone. For some, it may not be worth the $20, considering there are only 8 scenarios and a sandbox mode. However, this game has great potential, and I'm excited to see where the developers take it. The developers are very active and engaging in the community, and actively patching and doing hotfixes as needed. I highly encourage you to check out the Sprocket official FAQ as it highlights changes being made and what is to be expected by the time of launch. It's slated to be in early access for 24 months, so if you don't mind dropping the $20 and you get a chubby at just the thought of nerding out over a sprocket and tank design, then I'd say this is a must for you. If not, I'd say keep an eye on it until more is added, because there's simply not very much to do after the scenarios. But this game does have huge potential, so keep an eye out. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Keep an eye out for the next video as I go further into the early access hole to see what gems I can find. Thanks for watching and take care of yourselves. I'm the Sumerian, and I'll catch you later.